Let's talk about overthinking. Do you ever feel like your mind just won't stop running? Like it's trying to protect you from something and it just ends up making you more anxious? But here's the paradox. The more you try to control it, the louder it tends to get. And what if I told you, overthinking is not actually a thinking problem, it is a body problem. In this video, I will show you how to calm your mind, not by thinking less, but by teaching your nervous system to feel safe again. And stay until the end where I'll share you some practical things that you can do right after this video to reset your nervous system, to reset your mind and stop the mental loops for good. So listen up. Every bodily function has its benefits, but what are the benefits of overthinking? What is it trying to do? How is it good for you? Overthinking usually happens when our brain is trying to control things that we usually cannot, things that are outside of us, things that we do not understand. And it's basically a control freak, and it does it for us to feel safe. So overthinking happens when the mind is trying to take control of what the body cannot regulate. Your mind starts asking questions from yourself from a survival state, asking what is wrong, what did they mean by that? What if I fail? And that is protection. Because when you don't feel safe, your body is using resources. So all your energy goes up to your brain trying to rationalize things through logic. And logic is a yes or no. It is binary. But emotions are not. You can feel bad and good about the same things at the same time. So it's very hard to rationalize, especially emotions, because good and bad and useful and not useful emotions can be present at the same time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but nothing is only good or only bad. Something is useful and not useful at the same time. There's this yin and yang energy, and this is how our emotions work. And our mind is trying to take control of something by deciding this is good, this is bad, because it helps it understand what is going on. But it is rarely useful. I used to live inside of these fences, in the box, especially when I was performing and auditioning. My mind would go to overdrive, trying to predict every possible scenarios, but mainly the bad ones, so I can prepare for those bad scenarios, which would mean survival. So it was a very normal loop that helped me to predict everything that can go wrong. And I entered in some sort of a loop. Those thoughts were facilitating some emotions like anxiety, fear, because I was focusing on mainly of the things that are bad, that could potentially go wrong. And it put my body into a survival mode. So I tensed up and I lost flexibility. It's like I entered into a tunnel of some emotions and I was only seeing things through those emotions, through that lens. And after a while, it sort of became normal. Everything that we repeat gets hardwired. So after a while, it was just really easy to feel those emotions. I didn't have to do anything extra. I just started thinking about something and my body went into that fight or flight mode. So basically, I was trying to think my way into feeling safe again. And there's something really interesting I discovered when we were doing acting. I was overthinking, I went into my head, and many people did. And the solution was something completely different than what I thought intuitively. I was trying to think myself out of things. I was trying to think better. I was trying to think more clearly, quicker. But that wasn't the solution. I needed to actually return to my body. I will tell you what I did in a moment, but let's first examine the mechanisms behind all this. So survival emotions are energies that helps us to mobilize our resources, either to fight to something or run away. And that is what gets trapped in the body. When we feel an emotion, we narrow our focus down only to try to find a way out of it. We stop thinking bigger, we stop thinking in perspective, we stop asking ourselves different questions that facilitate growth. So we just want to be surviving. And if we think through these emotional lens, there is nothing else that can enter the nervous system that is not equivalent with what we already are experiencing inside. So if we feel anxious, if we feel angry, we find things outside of us. That is what will get our attention. Those things that are exactly how we are inside. So we start interpreting situations through those lenses, through those emotions like anger, fear, or anxiety. And we find reasons, find things outside of us that reflect those things. And in turn, it amplifies our feelings to feel even more like that. So what we can do here is slow down the body and return into safety, into homeostasis. So there's this loop that you enter into. The trigger, then you start feeling unsafe, then it triggers overthinking, then it triggers more feelings, and then it triggers more thoughts. And it just goes around in a loop. The key is this: you can't interrupt this by thinking yourself out of this. You have to interrupt it somatically. You have to do something physical in order to get you out of that. People who are really good at regulating their emotions, they know when they feel anxious, when they cannot perceive things from a grounded point of view, when they cannot see things objectively. They're better to take a walk, to run, to do physically something to get them outside of that mental loop. And here's where most people get stuck. They confuse rumination with reflection. Rumination is unconscious. It happens from a survival mode, from survival emotions, and it just goes in a loop. Whereas reflection, it is conscious. It has a problem-solving approach attached to it, and it happens from a calm and safe state. So it's fair to say that how your body is feeling, that's how your mind is going to react. If you are unconsciously in a survival mode, your mind is going to reflect that, and you start going into a worst case scenario overthinking. But if you feel safe, if you feel calm in your guts, then your mind is going to reflect that and is going to go into problem solving mode and start to thinking about potential. So let's make it even more practical. If you're in a fight or flight mode, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated. That's when you get all the energy, all those resources in your body moved. And your parasympathetic nervous system is trying to regulate you and calm you down. But how can you activate your parasympathetic nervous system if you're not used to it? Did you know that if you feel, you cannot think? So you have to take advantage of that. If you focus on your feelings, and if you're actually feeling your body, you cannot be thinking. And then you have to be establishing a new standard for yourself. Instead of allowing yourself to go into a spiraling mode, you actually go into a grounded mode. But you have to get your nervous system, get used to it. And every time you interrupt the loop, it is going to weaken. And over time, a new normal is going to take its place. So now imagine your mind could do this automatically. No panic spirals, no analysis paralysis, just clear thinking. And that's why we're heading on this channel. Learning to master your inner world so clarity, creativity, and calm become your default. So if this resonates, subscribe and get updates about everything that is related to this topic. To master ourselves, to master our emotions, to become better, to reach more, to become more, and to be more fulfilled. There are 3 basic steps that you can do to regulate your nervous system and teach yourself how to do things, how to handle things emotionally. The first step is to accept and recognize. It is when you need to be aware of what's happening and where you can utilize your pattern recognition. And once you notice what is a pattern, it is not a pattern anymore. It is a choice. So you don't have to let it control you any longer. So once you notice what is going on and accept that it's actually is happening. So step 2 is to interrupt that pattern. The key is not to let that circuit in the brain run out and get even stronger. So you have to have a predefined thing that you do instead of letting it completely run out. So there are a couple of things that you can do here. And what you shouldn't do is to keep thinking even more and try to think yourself out of your situation, of your problem. So instead of putting all the blood towards your brain and just overthinking, you have to connect with your sensory input. The quickest thing to do here is to utilize the meaning-making feature of your brain and notice what makes you calm around you. And that is when you put your focus onto something that is calming, it already will affect you. And because the meaning is given of those objects, whatever is around you, for example, there is my bed, there is my shoes that I really like, they give me some sense of really like calm. So I start focusing on things that give me calm, and then it already starts affecting my body. And the second thing you can do here is to do some breath work. Basically, when you inhale, then you activate your sympathetic nervous system, and then when you get more ready. But if you exhale and you do your exhale longer than your inhale, then you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. And that is when things start calming down. And apart from this, you can do some movements, you can focus on the silence, you can stop getting input from the outside world, you can stop getting information, you can listen to some calming music. The key is to connect to your sensory experiences, which is hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, and touching. And if you want to amplify this, just imagine a scenario where you felt absolutely safe and let your body feel it. And if you interrupt your overthinking with these sensory inputs and actually start feeling differently, then your mind gets rewired after a while. And here we come to the last step, which is integration. It is when you need to be doing that. You need to be noticing, you need to be interrupting, and you need to be rehearsing the different state that you wish to be in instead. So instead of fight or flight, you probably want to be feeling calm and safe, which is completely doable, and it is very possible for you to rewire your whole brain because of neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to change. So what you need to be doing, you need to be interrupting it. And the more you interrupt and the more you rehearse a different emotion, the more it becomes the new normal. So change your standards. And instead of having the standard of overthinking and go into a tense sort of state, then set your new standard as calm and peaceful, and your body and mind will reflect it accordingly. So overthinking isn't the enemy. It's a sign that your mind is saying, I'm not feeling safe right now. And it's trying to control everything, all the input that comes to you. So the question is not, how do I stop overthinking? The question is, how do I put myself into a safe state so I can think clearly? When your body feels safe, your mind becomes creative. When your nervous system is calm, ideas flow. And when you stop fighting your thoughts, you can finally hear your own truth. But regulation isn't about calm. It's about creating the right internal conditions so that your originality can return.